Hey everyone, today we're getting together and we're going to do some tech tips. We're going to be talking around some security measures and things. And we're working with Technical Financial Solutions, Tony Scott from TFS. And our topic today is going to be multi-factor authentication, or MFA, as most everyone knows. And there's a lot of misconceptions about MFA and the necessities of it. And a lot of people think that just because I have a password, I'm secured and protected, and that's not the case. And there's also mandates around these types of security measures now as well. And so one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have Tony kind of take us through the MFA process and how that pertains to the measures and the grading of that in an assessment. So Tony, take it away and tell us a little bit about MFA.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wade, what we're doing is we're trying to break down one subcategory at a time for the NIST cybersecurity framework, most commonly used framework for a risk assessment. And a lot, like you said, there's a lot of confusion and mystery around some of these subcategories when it comes to the cybersecurity framework. And so what we thought we'd do is go through and really bring it down to just boil it down to a no nonsense three things. So what? So why do we care? Why do we care if we have multi-factor in place? What's really the risk there, right? In layman's terms, and then do what do we really need to do? So where do we go from here? And then now what is kind of the rest of the story, and that is how do we make sure that we're in the place that we need to be in the event that we had a breach and had a ensuing audit, or we just had an audit in general from an external agency. So when we look at multi-factor, one of the things that I immediately want to go to is to actually pull up, okay, what is the cybersecurity framework subcategory have to say about it? So I'm going to pull that screen up. This will give you the actual wording from it. So we'll hit share there. You should be looking at that now. And what you're looking at is our software that we utilize for the security risk assessment. And this is actually a task, just a vehicle to ask for documents from our client base. But if you look in this guidance section, this is the actual wording, and it says users, devices, and other assets are authenticated, e.g. single factor, multi-factor, commensurate with the risk of the transactions. And so the bottom line is this is the subcategory that covers this. Our very first step in this, and this really is where everybody should be, is to ask the question, so what? So what if I don't do that? So what we've done is we've put together an associated risk with that. And I should have switched that over. You should be seeing risk rating. Is that accurate, Wade?
I see asset authentication, the guidance.
Okay, gotcha. So we're still sitting at that asset authentication. Not a problem. So I'm going to stop sharing, and
Yep.
then I'm just going to go back and give it to us again. And this should give us the risk rating.
Yes,
Is that
I see the risk rating. Uh-huh.
perfect? Perfect. So what I was saying is we really need to go to and say, hey, what's the real risk involved here? And that's exactly what we did for our client base. And so when we look at this risk description for PR.AC-7, which is protect is the grouping and asset authentication is the category. This one is basically saying unauthorized users gain access to sensitive data through the use of valid user IDs. And the reality is if someone gains access to your credentials and you don't have MFA in place, they can be you anywhere. Now, if they get your credentials and you've got MFA in place or don't have MFA in place, the only place they can be you is literally sitting in your network, right? But if
Right.
you've got the MFA in place, someone else can't log in to your email and pretend to be you, can't take over any of your softwares that you're utilizing. And I think one of the problems with our client base is they don't realize how many of the softwares they already have this capability. It's just a matter of turning that on. And yes, there's a little bit of inconvenience with it, but the benefit so outweighs the inconvenience. We've done this for all of the softwares that we use, everything from our cloud file server to our assessment software, right down to Office 365 email. So we've turned on the MFA on that. But one thing I was going to volley back to you, Wade, from a more technical standpoint is what are the kind of things that they should maybe look out for so they don't have a false sense of security saying, oh, yeah, we have that turned on? Are there some things they should look out for when they're turning the MFA on?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of boils down to a few things as well. Obviously there's a lot of misconceptions around that, even to the deployment side of things. And when you get into the weaknesses and the benefits and things like that, obviously, it's going to be an improved user experience, and it's not hard to implement. In
Right.
fact, we've worked with a lot of different types of clients, from healthcare, large all the way down to small. And even one of your largest healthcare facilities can get MFA implemented in a very small amount of time.
Right.
And it's assured identity of the users and the passwords alone is just not enough. So you've got to
Right.
have that MFA. And one of the things that you can look at from a technical standpoint is, do you have the capacity to implement MFA? And the answer is yes, because it doesn't take an additional increase of anything to do with bandwidth or server storage or anything like that to put this. It's just purchase an actual license. And there's multiple types of MFA solutions. Doesn't matter if it's one brand or the next. It's
Right.
all around. It's the same solution, but there's not really a technical requirement to get MFA. That is more of a it's really more of just an adaptation to
Hmm.
learn that you have to have MFA. You're going to have something to download the validate your credentials, and the tools that you put in place. It's a training process.
Right.
That's really
Exactly.
what to look out for is the training side of things.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because not all the MFA, not all the softwares use the same authentication vehicle.
Right.
Some use different apps. Some may
Microsoft uses
use
one type. Cisco uses, they have Duo. So you've got a lot of different things. It's all in training at the end of the day.
right. Exactly. Exactly. So we covered the so what of this situation of, so why do we care? We talked about the fact that, hey, if your credentials are stolen, people can be you anywhere, right? With no MFA. We talked about the do what here, and that is turning that on, making sure that we've got this in place for the critical tier one systems. And then finally, to bring it all to the conclusion of now what? So now what do we do? And the now what in my world is, now what if we get audited? So, what we tell our clients is, make sure you're documenting make sure you're documenting exactly what you're doing related to the control. MFA is a little easier because it's a setting, and it's easy enough to get screenshots of settings showing, evidencing that MFA in place. But that's really the key thing, is to make sure that every time we go around, go about this and look at these subcategories, not only do we want to have it in place, we want to document it. And just as a final note on this, Wade, it's no accident that we talked about MFA first, because obviously we did not start with the first control in cybersecurity. MFA is a big bang for your buck, because a lot of times this doesn't cost a dime to put in place when the software you already
Yes.
have. And
Yes.
so a huge win for very little financial investment, if not no investment, right?
And it's
So that's
proven.
the reason I brought that up first.
Yes, and it's proven to reduce the risk of security breaches.
Yeah,
It is a
absolutely.
proven, because it just works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, we're going to try and cut it short. We want to keep these really quick,
Yeah,
so that they're easy to watch. But the bottom line is, we're trying to help you tighten down your security one control at a time.
that's it. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks.